This week, Barry's lost 2.5 pounds. He's focused. He's doing so well. He's happy, and he's staying strong. Unlike me, I've given in to sugar. I've been tempted this week, and so I've eaten sugar. I know my emotions control my eating, and this is something that I'm going to have to learn to control and stay calm. And that made me think. So, if you've ever described yourself as calm, but you still felt tense underneath, this might be the distinction that changes something for you. I've noticed over the years that many women, well, especially in midlife, midlife women, they describe themselves as calm. And sometimes that's true, but sometimes it's not. It's not calm at all. It's control. And the two, well, they can look very similar from the outside. So today, I wanted to talk about the difference. The differences between calm and control. When we think of calm, we think of someone who isn't reactive. We think of someone who doesn't shout, someone who doesn't escalate, and they don't over dramatise things, and that can absolutely be calm. But real calm is internal. It doesn't depend on everyone else. Everyone else behaving properly. No, it doesn't depend on that. And it doesn't require the room to be orderly. Or predictable. Or even agreeable. Calm can tolerate discomfort. Calm, it can sit with disagreement. Calm, well, it doesn't rush to tidy the air after someone says something that's slightly off. It stays steady. Now, control looks similar. Control is also quiet. Also, it's composed. And it's also measured. But underneath control, there's tension. So control, it manages tone. Control anticipates reactions. Control smooths things quickly. Control over-explains. control fixes misunderstandings immediately, and control needs the environment to feel regulated. And that's the difference. Calm is steady, even if the environment isn't. Control, it feels steady only if the environment cooperates. See, in marriage, this distinction, it becomes very, very clear. Many women, well, they believe that they are keeping the peace. And sometimes they are keeping the peace. But sometimes what's happening is constant management. Monitoring moods and adjusting tone and rephrasing sentences. Yeah, rephrasing sentences and explaining decisions, softening truths. Well, that isn't always calm. Sometimes that's control dressed as composure. Peace, well, peace that requires constant management, well, it isn't peace, is it? It's pressure. Now, real calm, it can tolerate a husband being in a bad mood. Yeah? It can tolerate silence. And it can tolerate misunderstanding. It doesn't need to correct every version of events, does it? No, not immediately. And that can feel uncomfortable at first. It can feel uncomfortable because many of us, well, we were praised for being composed. Yeah. We were praised for being the steady one. We were praised for not making a fuss. But no one ever asked. Nobody asked whether we were relaxed underneath, did they? No. Control, well, it can look very responsible. It can look very mature, but it's exhausting. It's exhausting because you're constantly scanning, constantly adjusting, constantly making sure that everything feels smooth. And midlife, well, this is often when women realise that they're tired. They're not tired of marriage, no. They're not tired of life, no. They're tired of managing everything. That's when the distinction matters. Because if what you've been calling calm is actually control, then you can't rest inside. Calm feels different. Calm doesn't rush to explain. Calm doesn't jump into clarifying everything. Calm doesn't panic at misunderstandings. Calm allows space. And that's often where the discomfort comes. Yeah, this is where the discomfort comes in. Allowing space, it means allowing someone else to sit in their own reaction. It means not fixing it immediately. It means tolerating a little awkwardness. That's maturity. It's not rebellion. No. It's not coldness. No. And it's not being withdrawn. It's maturity. In midlife especially, something shifts. You start to see patterns more clearly. You see how often you anticipated problems before they happened. And how often you softened truths, and how often you overfunctioned. And you might realise that you weren't calm. You were controlling outcomes. You were controlling the outcomes to avoid instability. That's not a criticism. That's survival. Many women, they learned early that keeping things smooth, well, it meant keeping things safe. But safety and steadiness, they aren't the same thing. Steadiness, well, it doesn't need constant adjustment. No, the shift from control to calm, it's very supple. It's not dramatic. Well, it's quiet. You stop explaining every decision. You stop anticipating every response. You stop correcting every misunderstanding. You let someone think what they think. You let a mood pass. Yeah, you let it pass without intervening. And you let silence exist without filling it. And you notice nothing collapses. That's when you realise calm was never about control. Calm was about trust. Trust in yourself. Trust in the relationship. And trust in the room. And here's something else. Well, calm, it doesn't make you smaller. No. You see, sometimes women worry that if they stop managing, well, everything will just unravel. But you know, often what happens, it's the opposite. When you stop controlling, you become clearer. Your mind is just so much clearer. Your words, they become simpler. And your reactions, well, they become cleaner as well. Your presence becomes stronger. It becomes stronger because you're not performing. You are actually steady, so you're not pretending to be steady. And I think many of us, we were taught control and told it was calm. We were praised. Yeah, we were praised for composure. We were praised for being reasonable. We were praised for smoothing things over. But composure, well, composure without internal ease is just tension with good manners. And midlife, well, it gives you the opportunity to choose differently. Not louder and not harsher, just steadier. You don't have to manage every emotional current in the room. And you don't have to tidy every reaction. You don't have to explain yourself into acceptance. No. You can simply be clear. And let that be enough. If this distinction resonates with you, then I would genuinely be interested. I'd be interested to know your thoughts. Have you ever mistaken control for calm? Comment down below and let's share our thoughts together. I'll see you next Saturday at the kitchen table.